Today, I have the absolute privilege of welcoming Nicola Mostert, a registered dietitian and a powerhouse between 4 Life Living dietitians here in George. Nicola has a thriving practice and also leads a dedicated team, helping patients and people in and around George living a fuller and healthier life with evidence-based nutrition. Welcome, Nicola. Thank you for being here. This is very exciting.
Thank you, Christine. Just like you, that introduction is flattering. Thank you so much.
But you've built an amazing practice over the last few years. Tell us, yourself, tell us about your practice and who is Nicola.
Christine, I think you've been actually part of our journey for a long time. I remember you coming through to our practice 11 years ago and to introduce yourself, and we were all just startups and so the practice has been an amazing journey. We started out, I started out small in Oudtshoorn and had to drive through from Oudtshoorn to George, and in George it evolved and up to today that we have, I've got 5 dietitians working with me, and it's an incredible team of professionals, and they are just like family, and we are there for each other professionally as well as, in life. So we have a wonderful, wonderful dynamic in our team. And without our team, we wouldn't have been here today. So
that's definitely the truth. Tell me, Nicola, about your For Life Living dietitians, your practice. What is all this, more than one thing going on at your practice?
Christine, yes, like we've evolved. Each of us in our team have a different expert area that they are interested in and that they pursue. So we work in the ICU and Mediclinic, and we work in the general and surgical wards with our specialists in the George Mediclinic, as well as with our oncology. So we've branched out into oncology. We focused a lot on oncology the last 2 years. Trying to build that side of our practice and also to be able to provide the proper support to the patients they're going through their cancer journey. And then we also started a sideline business where we provide resources. So you can also, general public can now purchase some of our resources online. And so for example, today we're going to talk a lot about the anti-inflammatory diet, and they can purchase the whole booklet online for 99 Rand and get the whole information that they need, and specifically towards that to be able to eat anti-inflammatory diet properly.
That's amazing. Tell me, for how long have you been practicing? You yourself?
Oh, now I have to work out. Okay, so I'm 44 today.
Yes, happy birthday.
It's my birthday today.
I did say happy birthday before.
Practicing as a dietitian for 21 years now.
Yo, that's amazing.
So 21 years. Non-stop. Never took a break. Always on,
That's the thing that you do. But I must say, well done. I've met you 11 years ago, and you've built an amazing practice. And like you said, you can't do anything of that without a proper team that you do have. And all of you are well known and really giving back to the community in a whole. And I think that is what matters at the end of the day.
Thank you.
So let's dive into some of our topics for today. So our first one is more about our gut. That we see all over social media, and where everyone has, some of the weirdest advice regarding gut health. But can you explain to us, and for the general listener out there, why gut health is important and what is gut health?
Your gut is known as your second brain. So that's why, I don't know if you've remembered when you were at school, when you had to write a test and your stomach started getting butterflies in your tummy, you have that feeling, of nervousness in your tummy. And that's because your gut is known as your second brain. So the whole gut-brain connection is linked through the vagal nerve pathway. So if we get stressed, or if we will feel stress in our brains, that's why we feel it in our gut. So with gut health, the whole future of medicine it's actually based on how healthy your gut is. And it plays a very central role in your health as a whole. So the medical field focuses a lot on gut health nowadays, and for the future, we look at your gut as a whole in terms of your gut microbiome. So in your gut, we've got millions and trillions of microorganisms living there. And if you take 2 kilograms of your body weight, so let's say you weigh 60 and you subtract 2 kilograms, that is bacteria and other microorganisms actually living inside of your gut.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my word, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating to think that, when you die, you lose 2 kilograms. That bacteria is situated there, and it's not just bacteria, it's good bacteria and as well as your bad bacteria. And the good bacteria keeps the bad ones and also fungus and yeasts at bay. So they all live there. The moment that you were born, you were exposed to bacteria. And it's interesting, the studies has also shown that babies who were born naturally, babies who have been breastfed and also have not received any antibiotics in the first 2 years of their lifespan, has a better gut microbiome than babies that didn't. And also then they've done it further. So there's less allergies in those babies, less inflammatory conditions, and also your autoimmune conditions like type 1 diabetes, arthritis. There's a reduced incidence of that in babies who have been exposed to bacteria from a young age.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so the 3 of mine don't have a very bright future.
No, I won't say that.
No, Shaz, they were breastfed, but they were cesarean babies. En hulle het al vroeg antibiotika gehad. Nutrients and dietary habits that does support your gut health. Okay, so that is obviously a very broad question and topic. But what does support your gut health at the end of the day? If we take us, for example, general public, 40 plus.
Okay. So, a lot of focus has been on nutrition, but it's also an holistic approach. So you can have good nutrition, but your hormones is also important, hormone balance. The amount that you sleep at night is important. The way that you manage stress is important. So we look at your gut, and as well, not just your gut, your general health in a holistic way. So, but a lot of emphasis is placed on nutrition because obviously I always see your gut as a dustbin. So it is whatever you put in your dustbin that affects your gut. So you get better nutrition and not so good nutrition. So if we look at and focus on the not so good, it's basically eating a lot of sugar. Your refined carbohydrates is not good for your gut. Eating very little fiber is also not good for your gut. And good nutrition is obviously having a lot of fiber in your diet from vegetables. I think if one day I have to have I know it's a bit morbid, but if I have to have a gravestone and it says like Nicola, born on this day and died on that day, it's going to say, eat your vegetables. Okay, so I feel very passionate about that. We need about 2 to 3 cups of vegetables, raw or cooked every day. So fiber from vegetables. Fruit is also good, but not too much fruit just because of the sugar content. So we can have about 2 fruits a day and also giving you fiber. And then also your whole grains, like popcorn and your bulgur and quinoa and beans and lentils, your legumes, also a very good source of fiber. So fiber is what fuels the bacteria in your gut. So they actually need that to be able to multiply. So that's what it's, if you think of bacteria like Pac-Man, so the bacteria eats that fiber and they have a good chance of multiplying and becoming, like making a good microbiome in the gut. Water is so important. About 60% of patients that I see suffers from constipation. And the number one cause of constipation is not drinking enough fluids.
60%.
Yeah. So a lot of people suffer from constipation. It's when you skip a day or two without going to have a number two. So it's also very important to drink a lot of water. Think of water and your gut like a washing machine. You put in your clothes, you put in your soap, but the washing machine runs, and if it's not enough water,
Oh, that makes sense.
yeah, so it becomes like a dry business, doesn't flow nicely. So water is also very important for gut motility and good gut health. So I would say the two most important things for good gut health is good fibers as well as water.
Tell me, Nicola, and then, there's so many things and marketing stuff that you find everywhere. If it's not on social media, it's then in store. Probiotics. Is it necessary on a daily basis just to take it as a normal supplement daily? Do you take it only when sick or on antibiotics? And is there a good and a bad probiotic?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Christine. And it's also something that I think a lot of us wonder about. And even us as dietitians, we are quite, we value good probiotics because there's a place for it in our management of our patients. So yeah, you get lots of kinds out there. So if you search for a good probiotic, search for one that has at least 10 different strains in it. So your lactobacillus and your bifidobacterium, and at least 10 different strains. Because then you have a good variety. So I'm very wary about the singular probiotics. Some of them contain just one kind. It's not really going to do anything. So just be mindful around that. To me, for my practice, we recommend a course of probiotics in the first 2 weeks of our treatment. So let's say a patient comes in with diarrhea or constipation, or IBS, we would recommend a course of 2 weeks where you take 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening for 2 weeks just to put back everything that you might need and don't have. And the one that we recommend has got 20 billion microorganisms. And also just to touch on fermented foods. I think a lot of people will ask, but what about kimchi or kombucha or sauerkraut? It is good to have that in your diet. It can't do any harm, but for therapeutic purposes, it's not really going to do anything. Because when you ingest it, that goes into your stomach, and your stomach acid actually kills off a lot of the bacteria that's naturally in that product. So like yogurt, you eat a piece of yogurt or a bit of yogurt, it goes into the stomach, and your stomach acid will just break down the bacteria, so it's not active anymore. So by the time it gets to your small intestine and your large intestine, it's already dead. So you want a capsule encapsulated, and the companies actually protect the bacteria. They put it out in a capsule. It encapsulates the bacteria. So when it gets released into your small intestine or large intestine, it's still intact.
So it's amazing. Yeah. So that I didn't even know that, because we eat yogurt because everyone says eat yogurt for when you're sick and on antibiotics for an extra probiotic boost.
Yeah.
But it actually, most of it gets break down in your stomach already.
In your stomach, yeah. So by the time it needs to go to where it needs to go, like in your small intestine, it's already broken down. And it's also just one strain in yogurt. It's not a multi-strain. So you want one with multi-strain. You want quite a lot to take a course of probiotics. You don't need to take it for the rest of your life, just 2 weeks, 2 in the morning, 2 in the night. And then there must be quite a large amount. It must be encapsulated. Yeah.
That's the big difference. Tell me, I think the other difficult thing in your practice and in general with anything that comes to diet and support for any medical condition is the fact that science-based studies, you can find whatever studies you want and love at the end of the day. Meaning that there's so many studies out there. If I go, I can find 10 studies, say, claiming X, Y, and Z. But there's also then 10 other studies saying the exact opposite. So I think with any medical condition or any person working in the medical field, that's always a difficult part, is when to trust which study and where to go back to and refer back to and see what really does work. But the big thing is, in your practice and you with your 20 plus years experience, that does help at the end of the day. You know by now what recipe does work for you and for your patients.
Absolutely. And then we have the added benefit of AI.
Exactly.
So, my brain is not a computer, but like you say, is that we need to trust our gut, that no pun intended there. And also we see what works in patients, it's like we see what works. I've got the probiotics. My cancer patients walk in, they've got 3 months diarrhea, and then they drink 2 of these probiotics, and then the diarrhea is gone, So then you learn over time what works and what doesn't work.
Yes.
Especially, obviously, not just the probiotic diet also.
Yes, yeah, the whole holistic approach.
Yeah.
Something interesting that I thought about last night when I went through the notes is now coming to the whole mood and health and emotional part of food in general. And we've just said now, before we started, you said that you are not an emotional eater, and I said I am fully an emotional eater. But also then the connection between stress hormones, cortisol, and your emotional eating. Does it differ in patients, or is it just how each of us are unique in how we feel and eat?
No, there's definitely a link. Just to correct you, I'm an emotional non-eater. So if I get emotional, I don't eat.
Non-eater.
So it does affect, so your emotions definitely affects the way that you perceive and you want to eat and not eat. If you think of your gut microbiome, studies have shown that 90 to 95% of your serotonin gets released from your gut bacteria. So gut bacteria is actually responsible to make your feel-good hormone, which is called serotonin. So there's also a link between a gut dysbiosis and decreased serotonin levels. But to get back to your question on cortisol, so remember, cortisol is a stress hormone. It's what we release when we are stressed. A lot of people underestimate the power of cortisol. If you look at the clinical side of medicine, we can keep people alive with cortisone as a hormone. We can literally, when they're in ICU and they're gonna, they are fatal, we can keep people alive. It's such a strong, potent hormone. And we release our own cortisol when we're stressed. And that can actually affect the way that we metabolize, our metabolism. It increases our hunger, so it makes us want to eat more. It's a building hormone. So it's a recovery building hormone. So that's why we get more hungry when we're stressed.
Okay, that makes sense. And diet. When I'm tired, I want to eat all the time.
Yeah.
That is definitely then also for survival.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
tell me, Nicola, anxiety, I assume that also goes with mood in general and together with the serotonin, that the two does go hand in hand. So mental health is very much related because of our gut. It plays an important role.
It plays a contributive role, absolutely. But yes, anxiety, especially if you look at serotonin levels and influencing your GABA, which is also a type of hormone that's your relaxing hormone. And just to put hormones into perspective, not to be able to make our audience more confused, is that hormones work like dominoes. So when the one flips, it switches all the others. If the one increases, the other one decreases, So it's like a constant pathway of a domino effect if our hormones are out of balance or in our day-to-day life. So if we have a decrease in serotonin levels, we can see also a decrease in all the other hormones that play an effect like dopamine and your GABA. So it does affect each other.
And the important thing is that I always want to get across to the clients, like you said, is we shouldn't think about hormones as a swear word. We need hormones in our body. The one influences the other. And I think that is also a thing that people tend to go back to and blame just the hormones. But one hormone is needed for the other one to function and to get messages across in the body.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's interesting that how very much, you said 95% of your gut
90 to 95% of your serotonin gets released from your gut area.
Oh, that's amazing. Energy and sleep and that mid-afternoon fatigue. Oh, my shattered nerves. Oh, yeah, 3 in the afternoon. If I can just take a 20-minute power nap or eat or do both, it would be even great. But how does that play a role? What happens in that late afternoon stage?
Well, your hormones fluctuate during the day. So in the afternoons, your estrogen level starts naturally declining. And remember, estrogen is your body's feel-good hormone. So if we have enough estrogen in our bodies, that's what makes you forgive your children when they are naughty, and so that you don't kill them.
Yeah.
So we need estrogen as women to be able to just be friendly and happy. And if we don't have that, we just feel miff and not like it. So we see a natural decline in estrogen levels late afternoon. And that's probably why we feel that slump. But there's a lot to do that you can do with your lunchtime. For example, eating enough protein at lunchtime. Making sure that you have a balanced meal at lunch. Make sure that you don't skip lunch. And also, if you don't underestimate the power of a mid-afternoon nap as well, especially when you reach your 40s, like a 10-minute to half an hour quick nap. There's nothing wrong with it if you can do it. So I often do one in the mid-afternoon, somewhere in my office, just close my eyes for 10 minutes. And even if I just meditate a bit, I don't have to sleep. It just helps me feel better and just go on to the rest of my day.
Oh, I agree. That's definitely a thing for me as well. Maybe it's the approaching 40 now. Melatonin and your sleep cycles. That you've touched a bit on that earlier, saying that how important is sleep. What is a good meal before going to bed, and that will have an effect on your sleep?
Okay. So remember, melatonin gets produced from serotonin. So serotonin is responsible for melatonin production. So if you don't have enough serotonin, you will not have enough melatonin. I think a lot of emphasis is on what to eat. It's very important not to eat too late at night, not to have too big a portion at once. That's why it's important to eat, not too regular, but at least not all your food at dinner time for the day. So don't have nothing to eat in the day and have a big meal at dinner. And having enough protein, but not too much protein, because it's more difficult for the body to digest like a heavy piece of meat right before bedtime. I make the rule is to not have anything to eat after 8. So like my rule, kitchen is closed, 8 o'clock, shut down. Sleep hygiene is also so important. I think it's more important to have proper sleep hygiene before bedtime than actual what you eat. So if you look at having enough sleep hygiene, that would entail not having too much bright light in your eyes, softer lights in the house. If you look at the blue light, where the blue light goes into your eyes, it will stop the production of melatonin. So melatonin needs darkness. Okay, so we need that. It helps to have if you have to absolutely look on your phone, blue blockers in your lenses, just to be able to block that rays out, and so that you start releasing natural melatonin. Magnesium is an important calming nutrient. So that's often also something that we recommend at bedtime. So if you have like a good dose of magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate before bedtime, that can also help with your sleep and your calming.
And when will you start seeing all the benefit of magnesium? From the first night, or is it something that needs to build up in the body and you'll start feeling it in 2 to 3 weeks' time? Or
well,
how does magnesium work?
I won't say magnesium is the only thing that you must do. So just for that purposes, please don't go and buy a magnesium if you're going to sleep immediately. It's just the honesty. But you'll see with anything that you do, it can take 3 days up to 6 weeks. So it depends on your lifestyle and your holistic approach. You have to take everything in account. You can't just go for one single nutrient and expect that to make a difference. So for sleeping, I think sleep hygiene is the most important thing in general to do. Yeah.
Okay, so best is to take your magnesium at night.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start doing that from tonight.
And if you take a daily dose of probiotics, also to take that at night.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, because when you sleep, your peristalsis is now relaxed. So it just gives more time for the bacteria to inoculate and multiply in the gut. So it's just your gut's in a resting state. So it's better to take a maintenance dose of probiotic at bedtime.
Okay, fantastic. It just makes sense because that's when all the recharging and is happening, mostly at night. I mean, that's the same with skin as well.
Yeah.
Things that happen at night. Menopausal women in general, perimenopause or menopausal women, what are advice that you can give for them in general for strength, for mind, because that is an important phase in all women's life is menopause and the effects that on itself has on the body. So what can we do to assist and be healthier and stronger?
Yeah, I think that's $1 million question, and there's so much information out there, but it's sometimes very misleading. My take on it is that you need to look at it as holistic as possible, and if you can tell yourself as a woman, number one, to not blame your hormones. I think a lot of women just go through these phases, different phases, perimenopause and menopause, and they would say like, oh, but I look like this because I'm in menopause. And, yes, it does contribute to it, but you need to put in the work and the effort. Don't just blame the hormones and then tell yourself, okay, I look like this or I feel like this because it's my hormones. So that's the number one, I think, is that you have to put in the work and the effort. It's like you with your skincare routine. If I put in the work and the effort, I'm going to get good skin. If I put my sunblock on, work and effort. Okay, so don't just blame the sun. Put the effort in, put the sunscreen on. And that's the same with going through menopause and perimenopause. Number one is strength training. Number one. Okay, because we see a natural decline in muscle as you age. So we lose muscle mass every year after 40. We start losing muscle naturally. So strength training is important. Strength training means working that specific muscle. A squat, a push-up, a sit-up against your own body weight or with light weights. I do all my training on YouTube. I don't belong to a gym or a personal trainer. YouTube is amazing. It's got millions of videos. It's just incredible. Okay, and it's for free. So if you do it for 20 minutes every day, you're gonna age well. So strength training is very important. And then looking at your diet is eating an anti-inflammatory style of eating. So now in the older days, we used to call it the Mediterranean diet. Now it's rebranded into the anti-inflammatory diet, and it's like our gold standard of eating. So it's focusing on foods that actually provide function in your body. So if you think of blueberries, for example, the blue color, or beetroot, the purple color, the color in those foods provide us with antioxidants and phytochemicals, which reduces our inflammatory markers in our body.
Interesting. So the color itself.
And also the nutrients in the specific, like vitamin C, for example. So it's a potent antioxidant, and vitamin E. So your anti-inflammatory style of eating, also getting in a lot of omega-3 fatty acids. Difficult to eat it in South Africa because it's quite costly. It's expensive to eat, salmon every day or every second day, and fresh mackerel and tuna. So it's best to supplement it with 1,000 milligrams of omega-3. And also be careful of the EPA and DHA. It's what the omega-3 consists of. It's your active ingredients. Must be more than combined in a capsule, more than 400 to 600 milligrams of EPA and DHA.
Is that something that will be written on the label of
you
a
can
product?
read it.
Okay.
So the cheaper brands contain only less than 300 milligrams of EPA and DHA. But your better brands contain up to 600 to 700 milligrams of EPA and DHA per 1,000 milligrams. And then also a recent meta-analysis that I read up on is the importance also of combining omega-3 with vitamin D. So that's also nice. 1,000 units of vitamin D with omega-3 actually helps prevent autoimmune conditions like arthritis later on in life, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, even diabetes, So that's quite interesting how that combination actually showed that the reduction in autoimmune conditions later in life. Just to get back to menopause, protein is also very important. So I mentioned muscle. So the muscle needs fuel. Having a protein at each meal, especially in the mornings. So women need about 21 grams of protein at breakfast, which is equal to about 3 eggs, 21 grams. And men need 28 grams of protein. So, but having a protein at each meal, and why I say breakfast is that studies have just shown that if we eat protein in the mornings, the studies have shown that there's a reduced decline in sarcopenia or muscle loss through aging. So that's quite it. So it's not just the protein that you eat, but also the timing of the protein that's important.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then I also recommend creatine.
I know. I just wanted to ask you because I know that you've had actually a topic or a video about that the other day, and that you also see everywhere is creatine.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. If you're scared of taking it, remember, obviously, just consult your doctor always with any of these. We're not here to make a diagnosis or change and make you less healthy. But creatine is a great way of preserving muscle. Studies have also shown that it reduces brain fog in menopausal women, increases memory. So that's quite an interesting data point. But be careful to overdo it. So we recommend a 5 milligram dose in the morning during breakfast of creatine monohydrate. But make sure that it's safe for you to take. Don't just take it and don't overdo it. Don't go more than 500 milligrams Don't go more than 500 grams a day, just because it can be quite impactful. It can harm your kidneys, for example, if you overdo it. So, yeah.
But I've seen a lot. And also, I think the misconception with ladies is that they think they're going to start building muscle and look like a bodybuilder. And I go on and off. I take my creatine as I remember, but I really try to do that. And I do gym quite hard, and I just naturally don't have a muscle toned physique, even though I'm quite strong, even though it doesn't look like it in muscle wise. But you don't build and get bulky when you do use creatine. It takes actually very hard work, you will know, for a female to get big and bulky, and you have to eat a lot to also add to that muscle. So I think that's also the thing with creatine is the ladies don't want to take it because what if I get big and bulky? But that won't happen.
You're 100% right. If you don't put in the work, it's not. So if you think of muscle, think of tennis players playing tennis. Okay, that guy who plays tennis a lot, his right hand looks always this big and the left arm is like small. So if you don't use the muscle specifically, it's not going to build unnecessary muscle or necessary muscle. So creatine is what it does actually, just so for people to understand how it works. It's a molecule that transport phosphate. So if you think of the cell, and now the cell has to produce ATP, which is energy. So the only thing that creatine does, it carries the phosphate molecule from an inactive, we call it ADP, to ATP. So that muscle cell energy spark is just increased due to and helped or assisted by creatine. Okay.
That makes sense.
So that's why your output is bigger if you do certain exercises with creatine. So be mindful if you do heavy gym work. Remember how muscle build is you tear the muscle and then it builds back. And that's how it bulks. So muscle builds only when it tears. So that's that physical exertion that you put on the muscle cell.
Okay, so we need to start taking our creatine. At the end of the day, you should, like you say, you should be mindful. Check with your dietitian, with your doctor, consult with whom it is important to consult, and don't
overdo it.
Overdo like anything else. Don't overdo it. Nicola, an important point I want to discuss specifically is because I see over the years when it comes to diet and acne and skin and polycystic ovary syndrome together with diet, I couldn't have yet put my finger on it and claim that yes, dairy products is definitely one of your causes for your acne or gluten. Because I do have clients that are a bit or a lot overweight and don't necessarily live a healthy lifestyle, but they have glowing skin. And then I have clients that really do everything to the T and that are more cautious of what they eat and live 80% very good lifestyle. But they just have very, very bad acne. And yes, I know it also genes plays a role. Definitely, I believe, the biggest role when it comes to problematic skin. But hormones also. But how can we assist these clients when it comes to acne, problematic skin, and their diet as a whole? In the long run, I assume that's then going back to your anti-inflammatory diet.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember, what is acne? Okay, so acne is an overproduction of sebum, of oil.
Sebum, yes, and all the
And so you have to understand acne, and obviously hormones. Hormones play a major role with women, especially production of androgen hormones, which is your male type of hormones. And the minute estrogen starts dropping, testosterone increases, and then you have and progesterone. So this whole hormone imbalance plays a role. And I also, if you think of also, and the same with insulin resistance. So if you're overweight, you're gonna have insulin resistance. You're gonna see a reduction estrogen and increase in testosterone again. And this all plays a role. But from a dietary perspective, I think we have to look at different factors causing more inflammation. So if you look at sugar intake, just sugar intake by itself causes inflammation. So it reduces inflammatory cytokines in your body if you take in a lot of sugar. So sugar in your tea and coffee, but also in chocolates, sweets, and so on. So that increases inflammation. Anti-inflammatory style of eating, yes, for sure, because if your body is under stress and hormones imbalanced, eating a lot of anti-inflammatory types of foods like nuts and avos and omega-3 and your colors like beetroot and blueberries, all going to help to reduce that inflammation or inflammatory response in your diet. Yeah. So I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all approach.
Definitely not.
To get back to your question about gluten and lactose or milk or dairy. So if you suspect an intolerance, it's worth your while to cut it out. Cut out for 6 weeks and see how it goes. Cut your dairy for 6 weeks and see. But you have to give it at least 6 weeks time. Same with gluten. It depends on what your goal is. But for acne specifically, also to cut that out for a certain period would be useful. Then you can see, but makes a difference or it doesn't make a difference. But water intake is also important. I think that's the thing that's the cheapest, most effective solution to a lot of problems is drinking enough water.
For your general yawn.
Yeah, and caffeine intake, alcohol also plays a role. So if you cut back on caffeine, alcohol, increase more water, cut back on your sugar, okay, you already will see a difference anyway.
Yes, I do agree with the fact that your gut has an effect on your skin. It's just sorry to see that, people, like you said, there's no one size fits all. Everyone differs. I just always feel so sorry for the ones that really put in the work and really try, and then it seems like they don't succeed at the end of the day. And then there's the ones that don't care at all, and not that they shouldn't have glowing skin. I'm very glad that they still do have glowing skin. It's actually just the ones that struggle a lot that doesn't win necessarily at the end of the day. But cutting out a food, if you suspect that it does have a direct impact on your skin, you say 6 weeks.
I think definitely 6 weeks, yes.
To completely cut it out, to really say if that specific food is making a difference in your skin.
And do you think also, I'm interested in people with with acne problems, what is the most effective treatment then from your side? What would you say?
For the girls, it's always easier because contraceptive to health hormones.
Balance, yes.
Obviously, when they're 16 and older, we don't start earlier than that. Together with topical treatments, because the bacterial function on your skin plays a big role in your skin health for acne or no acne, just general skin health. So your barrier of your skin function is super important. So for the girls, it's always easier. We can do both and get a quicker result within 3 months' time if we can put them on contraceptive. For the boys and the teenagers, or young men for that matter, it's always a bit difficult because we can't put them on contraceptive. So we have amazing products that really does help. And I always tell the moms and the kids or the young people that unfortunately this is also part of puberty. That's the bad thing, but we can manage it. And we can try to keep it away as far as possible. We can heal it quicker with our treatments and products, and so that it doesn't leave any lesions or marks afterwards. But I always do recommend them try to follow an anti-inflammatory diet as well, just so we know we cover all of the bases. But it's difficult with the young ones.
It is difficult.
En 'n pizza is lekker.
A jockey.
En 'n jockey is lekker.
I know. My son is 15 years old. He's going through it now. And it's like, this is
No, I feel so sorry for them.
But I also like a question that you can also ask your patients is how are they constipated or not? That's also interesting. Just to know that when you suffer from constipation, and that is now in all stages of life, if you can ask this question, is just be mindful that all your excess estrogen, all your hormones that is in excess gets excreted through your feces. So when you suffer from constipation, your body reabsorbs that again.
No, because it just
sits there, and it can also cause a hormone imbalance in your body. So that's also an interesting one. That's why gut health, just to bring it back to
does play a role.
Absolutely play a role, yes.
Okay, interesting. No, I should definitely ask that question more often. Collagen supplements. So I'm not going to give my opinion. Please give your opinion on collagen supplements. Okay, let's rephrase it. Collagen supplements for cartilage, say for instance, do you think it helps? Does it assist or not?
No.
Dankie.
It's too little. I mean, it's like a katsboegie, It's like really not going to do anything. And it's some of these people package it so nicely. I mean, it looks like a golden pill. If I'm going to drink this, I'm going to get like amazing skin. I'm like, yeah. So your collagen, all of us have natural collagen, right? And it's important to keep our skin elastic and so on. But if you look at the dietary part of it, is just to break it down for you. Remember, if you eat or drink a collagen powder, it contains amino acids. It's like a chain of amino acids. And that amino acid still gets broken down in your gut or in your stomach. That whole collagen gets broken down to amino acids. And then it goes to the rest. So collagen in its simple form doesn't get to the skin, okay? It still gets broken down to amino acids. And then your body transports that amino acid. So a very important amino acid for elastin or, production of collagen in our own skin is tryptophan, which is a type of amino acid. And that's why we get back to having good proteins in your diet, your plant-based proteins as well as animal proteins at each meal. Is so important. So your general protein intake and also looking at other components like vitamin C, which is a good antioxidant for collagen production in our own skin, does play a role.
That does play a role and have an impact.
I think also we forget about genetics, right?
Definitely.
So people just age, I think also because of our genes.
And we have an important role.
Yeah.
But that does play a role. But I also always say as well that we should not just also blame the genes.
Yeah.
If that comes to weight, skin, whatever the case may be, mental health even, it does play a role and we should take that into consideration. But then I think if you do know what your genes are likely to be or turn out in the long run, you can invest now and try to give attention to that and either fight it or you are the lucky one and you just go with it.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't blame our genes like we blame our hormones.
Exactly. Your genes is like little switches. We decide whether to switch it on or not.
No, that is not all the key part. Nicola, if you could give our listeners a practical, holistic ending or some advice to the end of this conversation, what do you think is something that they should take into consideration from our talk today?
I think, if I have to sum it up, good gut health is important. Not being constipated, not having diarrhea, having a good soft stool daily. I know it sounds gory, but it's so important. we've broken down an anti-inflammatory diet into 12 things that you need to do every day. So I can just quickly mention them to the audience. So we've broken down into the daily dozen. So it starts out with your legumes. So even a bit of baked beans, add it to your day, or some chickpeas, any beans, lentils or split peas. Then your berries, so your blueberries, strawberries, adding it frozen or fresh, as a snack or with your breakfast or a smoothie. And then one other fruit added per day. So that's your third one. The fourth one is your cruciferous vegetables. So that's basically broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Not a lot of people like Brussels sprouts, but having a portion of that every day. Then your greens. So anything like spinach, lettuce, your rocket, all your green leafy vegetables. And then other vegetables. So that's any other vegetable.
So the first 6 is all about, legumes, and then
your fruit.
Veg.
Yes. But specific veg, like your cruciferous vegetables, your greens, which is your lettuce and spinach. And then your fifth one is any vegetables. Then the seventh one is your nuts and seeds. So basically having 30 grams of nuts or seeds added to your day. Flaxseed, also very good omega-3 source. And making sure that you ground it before you eat it to release the omega-3 in it so that you can absorb it. And basically you only need 10 grams of that also added to smoothies. And it's an easy one to add as well in your day. The other one that we add is a little bit more complicated. It's turmeric or other herbs and spices, but especially turmeric. Afrikaans is it borrie. To add 5 milliliters to that somehow into your day. So you can either add it into like a shot that you make with other things like cinnamon and ginger, like a shot, or you can add it to your yogurt. But we also have a supplement in the form of curcumin that we add, and that just takes out the hassle of adding borrie or turmeric in your day, because it's a very potent anti-inflammatory ingredient. And then whole grains. Your whole grains is like any popcorn, bulgur, quinoa. And then the last second two is actually very easy. It's tea and coffee. So for everyone that worries about your tea and coffee intake, it also actually has anti-inflammatory properties. It contains a product called chloroquine, which is a very potent antioxidant. It's what gives it the dark color, that brown color, the black color of the tea and coffee. So having 3 cups of tea and coffee a day, I feel that's good. And then the last one is 40 minutes of moving your body daily. So in South Africa, we sit a lot, we do a lot of office work, we drive everywhere. So you have to make an effort to put 40 minutes of movement daily. So that's your daily dozen.
Fantastic. Okay, that's I think all of us at the end of the day should follow an anti-inflammatory diet.
Absolutely.
It's not just if you have this condition now and we want to address it and cure it and assist or help with it. All of us should have an anti-inflammatory diet.
Yeah, it's our gold standard.
To live that way.
Yeah.
Ag, dankie Nicola. Dankie dat jy op jou verjaarsdag. So this podcast is only going to be sent out on a later date. But happy birthday again.
Ja,
Mag het 'n mooi jaar wees en bitter dankie vir jou tyd. I really appreciate it and I'm looking forward to doing another podcast.
Yeah, I think our main goal is to help other people, right?
I know, exactly.
That's why we do what we do.
No, and you do that well. So thank you for you and for your practice and for your team and for the difference that you've made in George so far and for contributing.
Thank you. And you too, Christine. It's like you are just such an inspiration. And we all look up to you and we support you in everything you do. So well done.
Thank you, Nicola. It's nice working with you.